You ever watch someone lie to your face and wonder if they even remember who they're lying to? It was a Thursday. Ordinary. Boring. The kind of day that shouldn't matter. But it was the day everything cracked. She was sitting across the kitchen table, scrolling her phone, smiling. Not at me. At someone else. I knew that smile. I remembered when it used to be mine. "Dinner's in the fridge," she said, without looking up. Like I was a roommate. A ghost in the house she no longer feared. I didn't answer. I didn't even blink. I just stood there, still holding the dry cleaning I'd picked up for her. The clothes she never said thank you for. That's when it hit me. This wasn't neglect. This wasn't stress. This wasn't one bad week. This was a pattern. A ritual. And I'd been worshiping alone at an altar she stopped believing in a long time ago. The silence wasn't new. It had just become loud enough to hear. She laughed at something on her screen, quiet, personal, private. The kind of laugh you share when you're being seen. And I realized, I hadn't heard her laugh like that in months. Not with me. Not for me. I opened the fridge. Same container from last night. She hadn't cooked. She'd just moved the leftovers and lied. That's when I looked back, at her body language, at the way she angled her phone, at the quiet confidence in her detachment. She wasn't hiding something. She was daring me to see it. And I did. That night, I didn't confront her. I lay next to her in bed, both of us turned away. The silence between us wasn't passive. It was intentional. And that's what made it dangerous. Because in silence, I could finally hear myself think. I thought about the slow death of our touch. The way, "I love you," had become a placeholder. The way her eyes didn't scan for me in a room anymore. Just her reflection. Just her phone. Just her. I used to wonder what changed. What I did wrong. Now I knew. It wasn't that I failed. It's that I succeeded. Too much, too quietly, too reliably. And she mistook consistency for weakness. Mistook peace for boredom. Mistook my devotion for dependency. So I made a decision. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But completely. The next morning, I woke up before her. I made coffee. 1 cup. Mine. I dressed. Left the dry cleaning in her closet. Not as a favor. As a final act of service. And as I walked out the door, I felt something I hadn't in months. Freedom. Quiet, slow, and absolute. She didn't know it yet. But I was already gone. She didn't notice it right away. The silence, at first, looked like peace. Looked like me finally calming down. Looked like something she could use to her advantage. She mistook my quiet for comfort. That was her first mistake. 3 days passed before she started testing the air between us. Little things. Casual things. "Hey, do you want to go for dinner Friday? I saw this funny video, look." Her voice had that artificial lightness people use when they're trying to steer a conversation they no longer own. I answered like she used to answer me. Flat. Kind. Unreachable. "Maybe. That's funny." "Sure." She blinked at my tone, probably expecting sarcasm or warmth. Anything human. But I'd stripped the emotion out of my voice so cleanly, she didn't know where to aim her response. She called me by name more than usual. It used to sound affectionate. Now it just sounded lost. Friday came. I didn't mention the dinner she offered. Neither did she. She was dressed, though. Hair curled, lipstick on. Waiting. But I walked past her on my way to the door. "Going out?" she asked, not looking at me. I nodded. "Gym. Then maybe a drink." "With who?" I paused. Not long. Just enough. People. I saw it. How that word hit her. Like a door closing softly, but irreversibly. "Okay," she said. But her voice cracked in the middle. When I got back, she was asleep on the couch, still in makeup. The wine glass on the table barely touched. The show she queued up paused for hours. I didn't wake her. Didn't cover her. Just walked past, turned off the hallway light, and closed the bedroom door behind me. She wasn't used to being the one left wondering. Saturday morning, she was in the kitchen early, cooking breakfast. 2 plates. Like nothing had happened. I sat down. "Ate." She smiled. "You like it?" I nodded. Then pushed the plate away, unfinished. Just not that hungry. Her smile didn't fade. But her eyes did. A half second of something she couldn't quite disguise. Confusion? Regret? Maybe fear. That was new. We didn't talk for the rest of the morning. In the afternoon, she came into the room, holding her phone like she wanted to show me something. "Remember our trip to Vancouver?" she said. "These photos just popped up." I didn't look up. "Yeah," I said. "I remember that version of us." That version. Her smile collapsed. She stood there a moment longer, then left. And that's when I realized. She wasn't trying to reconnect. She was trying to rewind, and I wasn't going back. The version of me who begged for scraps? He was gone. She just hadn't figured it out yet. But she would. Because when a man reclaims his silence, the woman who used to weaponize it starts drowning in it. It started showing on her face. Not panic. Not yet. But that slow realization, the kind that creeps in like a shadow at noon. Wrong place, wrong time, but undeniably present. She began lingering in doorways, asking questions with no real content, watching me, like I was a painting she suddenly didn't understand anymore. "You okay?" she asked one night while I was brushing my teeth. I didn't look up. "Yeah. You've just been different." I rinsed, dried my hands, met her gaze in the mirror. Probably because I stopped pretending everything was fine. That was the first time I saw fear in her eyes. Not because I'd said something cruel. Because I'd said something true. She didn't respond. Just turned, walked away. Slowly. Like someone backing out of a room they weren't sure they were allowed in anymore. The next day, she cleaned the whole house. Top to bottom. Music playing. Her old playlist. One we used to play while cooking together. She sang under her breath. Called it therapeutic. I knew what it was. An offering. But I wasn't interested in nostalgia. She left a coffee for me on the counter. Black, just how I like it. But a little late. Like handing a parachute to someone already on the ground. I sipped it. No compliment. No smile. Just routine. She was watching me from the hallway. Pretending to scroll. Pretending to exist somewhere else. But her eyes didn't move from me for a second. By evening, the energy had shifted again. She was quiet. Too quiet. No passive-aggressive sighs. No subtle critiques about the way I folded towels or loaded the dishwasher. Just stillness. She asked if I wanted to watch a movie. I said no. She didn't push. Didn't fight. She just sat there, blinking at the screen that stayed dark. Later, she came to bed early. Wore that oversized shirt I used to say made her look like home. But it didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like bait. She slid under the covers. Not too close. But not far either. Waiting. I kept my eyes on the ceiling. "I miss us," she said into the dark. I stayed quiet. Because I didn't. I missed who I used to be. Before I bent myself into shapes, just to earn the bare minimum. Before love came with disclaimers. Before every good day felt like a setup for another cold shoulder. Now, all I missed was silence. And I already had it. So I gave her what she once gave me. Stillness. Unreachable. Unreactive. She turned toward me a few minutes later. Tried to rest her hand on my arm. I didn't flinch. But I didn't return the touch. Eventually, she moved it away. Like a waiter clearing a dish no one ate from. She sighed once. Not loud. But the kind of sigh that says, "This isn't working anymore." She still didn't know what she was trying to fix. Because she didn't know what she broke. But she would. Soon. Because silence is slow. Until it isn't. She started watching me like I was cheating. The irony almost made me laugh. She thought there was another woman. That I was dressing better, working out more, staying late at work, for someone new. But I wasn't doing it for anyone. I was doing it to remember who I was before she rewrote the definition of love with conditions. I wasn't seeking attention. I was reclaiming oxygen. She didn't understand that. Because in her mind, men don't just drift. They chase. And if they're not chasing her, they must be chasing someone. So she started hunting ghosts. She checked the call log on our shared phone plan. Asked casual questions about people I hadn't mentioned in months. "Are you still talking to that friend of yours? What was her name?" I looked at her. "Which one?" She blinked. Didn't answer. The question had already backfired. She started smelling my clothes. Yes. Literally. I came home one night to find her doing laundry, something she hadn't done in weeks. I walked in and caught her holding my shirt to her nose. When she saw me, she froze. Then tried to laugh it off. Just checking if it needed to be washed. I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Her eyes said enough. She was spiraling. Not because I betrayed her trust, but because she could feel that I'd stopped trying to earn hers. That's what really broke her. She still had access to my body, but not to my soul. And no GPS could track that. She tried being affectionate again. In small ways. Reaching for my hand during a walk. Sitting closer on the couch. Resting her head on my shoulder when we watched TV. I let her. But I didn't respond. And that absence, that lack of return, it crushed her. Because I wasn't withholding. I had simply moved on internally. And she was only now realizing how far behind she'd been left. One night, she came home late. Claimed she was out with friends. I didn't ask who. Didn't ask where. She waited for the jealousy. It never came. Don't you want to know where I was? She finally asked, standing in the hallway, arms crossed like a teenager pushing buttons she didn't know had been disabled. I looked up from my book. No. She stared at me, mouth slightly open. Not in anger. In fear. Because the moment your partner stops asking questions, that's when you should start. She didn't sleep well that night. I know because she tossed more than usual. Kept checking her phone. Probably hoping to catch me texting someone. Anyone. She wanted it to be about another woman. That would have been easier to fight. But this slow fade into indifference? That was something she couldn't compete with. She could throw on makeup. She could plan surprises. She could offer sex. But she couldn't reverse my peace. And for the first time, she understood. I wasn't just distant. I was done. Not angry. Not plotting. Just finished. That kind of silence? It doesn't slam doors. It just leaves them open. And walks away without looking back. She thought the silence was a pause. A sulk. Maybe even punishment. But she didn't understand the difference between sulking and planning. I wasn't shutting down. I was setting things in motion. She still moved through the house like she had time. Still played the game of small talk. Still dressed up for dinners I didn't attend, poured wine into 2 glasses, even though one stayed full. But I was already gone. Not physically. Not yet. But everything that tethered me here, loyalty, routine, sentiment, had been severed cleanly, one by one. She just hadn't heard the snap. That week, I opened a private bank account. Quiet. Legal. Isolated. I didn't touch our joint savings. Not yet. No drama. No trail. Just a portion of my paycheck rerouted to a space that had no echo of her name. Then I found a storage unit 20 minutes out. Low traffic area. No shared apps. No automatic receipts. I bought new boxes. Not many. I wasn't planning on taking furniture. Just what belonged to me. The things she never touched. The things she never valued. Spare keys. Passport. My old journals. Letters from my mother. The watch I wore when I proposed to her back when time still felt like ours. Each item I packed felt less like an escape and more like a reclamation. I wasn't running. I was removing. Systematically. Silently. She didn't notice. Of course not. She thought absence only counted when it was loud. But I wasn't performing anymore. I was preparing. At home, she tried being warm again. Asked about my day. Told me I looked good in that shirt. Left her phone screen unlocked, casually flashing messages from female friends she never mentioned before. It was bait. Every move was bait. But I wasn't hungry anymore. I gave her nothing. Not sarcasm. Not suspicion. Not even attention. Just polite nods. Half smiles. The kind of behavior you show someone you might never see again. One night, she came into my home office, a space she rarely entered. She leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed. I miss us. I didn't look up from my screen. What version? She hesitated. What do you mean? I finally turned to face her. Calm. Still. Done. The one where I begged for attention? Or the one where you rationed affection like currency? Her lips parted. No sound. Because there's no comeback when you're caught mid-script and the other actors already left the stage. She walked away after that. No words. No performance. Just soft footsteps down the hallway of a house that didn't feel like home anymore. That night, I moved 2 more boxes to the unit. Carefully. Not in panic. But with purpose. Like a man placing chess pieces, not throwing punches. She hadn't lost me in a fight. She'd lost me in the spaces between questions I stopped asking. And the more she tried to revive what she killed, the more I watched her hands grasp at air. She thought I was still in this. But she hadn't realized. I was already packing a future she wouldn't be in. By the end of that week, her energy changed. Not softer. Sharper. Calculated. The warmth she'd been faking curdled into something else, strategy. I could see it in the way she lingered near me, then left too quickly. In the way she mentioned names mid-conversation and watched my eyes like a sniper watching for a flinch. Ryan said the funniest thing today. She smiled over dinner. I didn't ask who Ryan was. I didn't look up. I just kept cutting my food, bite by bite. She waited, fork in midair, hoping for jealousy. None came. Because when you've stopped loving someone, nothing they do is a threat. It's just noise. 2 days later, she came home in a dress I hadn't seen in years. Tight. Short. Makeup done like we were 25 again. I ran into an old friend after work, she said, kicking off her heels by the door. We grabbed a drink. Nice, I said. No inflection. She stared at me. I thought you'd be curious who. I'm not, I replied. Not angry. Not smug. Just clean truth. That's when the smile died completely. She was trying to provoke a man who no longer had anything left to lose. That night, she came to bed in silk. Slid close. Not subtle. Pressed her hand to my chest. Missed you. I didn't move. Didn't react. She kissed my shoulder. Say something. I did. Too late. And I turned away. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. But she didn't sleep either. I heard her breathing shift. Shallow. Uneven. Like someone gasping in slow motion. She stayed still the rest of the night. But I could feel her eyes on my back like guilt with no mouth. The next morning, she poured 2 coffees again. One for her. One for me. I left mine on the counter. Untouched. She stood in the kitchen in silence, holding her mug like a question. You're really not going to say anything? She finally asked. I turned to her. I already did. Every day. For 3 years. You just weren't listening. That landed. Hard. She didn't answer. Just turned away. But I saw her knuckles whiten around the cup. Later that night, I came home to candles. Dinner. The smell of the pasta I once called my favorite. Music playing, our playlist from years ago. It was a setup. One last show. She met me at the door. Thought we could talk tonight. I nodded. We sat. Ate. She tried smiling. Light conversation. Baiting connection. I gave her what she gave me for years. Minimal effort. Maximum silence. She finally broke halfway through. I don't know how we got here, she whispered, wine glass shaking in her hand. I looked at her. I do. She blinked. You didn't even fight for us. I nodded once. You're right. Then I stood up, took my plate to the sink, and left her there, in a room filled with everything she thought would fix what she never thought she'd break. Because she wasn't mourning me. She was mourning her power. And that was already gone. Something broke in her after that dinner. She didn't say it, but I saw it in the way she started doing things she used to mock. She folded my laundry, made the bed before I got up, left notes by my coffee mug. Hope your day's okay, made your favorite tonight. She was trying now, but not because she remembered how to love me. Because she finally realized she couldn't control me anymore. I didn't ignore her efforts. That would have given her a narrative. He's cruel. He doesn't care. No, I acknowledged everything. With polite nods. Mild thanks. But no warmth. No return. Because the version of me she wanted back, the one who lit up when she touched my hand, who chased the smallest sign of affection, that man was gone. And she was standing in the ruins of what she thought was unshakable. I started sleeping better. Not because I was healed. Because I was no longer waiting for her to care. There's a different kind of sleep when you stop hoping. That week, I changed every password we once shared. Removed her fingerprint from my phone. Deleted the shared calendar. She noticed. She asked once, quietly, "Why can't I see your schedule anymore?" I looked at her. Because it doesn't involve you. No venom. No emphasis. Just truth. She stared at me for a long time, then said nothing at all. I filed the documents the next day. Quietly. No announcements. Just signatures, scans, notarizations. A slow legal exit from a marriage already dead in every emotional sense. She didn't know yet, but she would. I contacted a realtor. Booked 3 showings under my name only. Places small enough to feel like freedom, big enough to never echo her name again. She started texting more after that. Late at night. Random questions. Are you okay? Do you hate me? Is this really happening? I answered all of them the same way. I'm fine. No. Yes. No elaboration. No invitations back in. Just facts. She tried one last time. Woke me up at 2 a.m. Tears already down her face, voice trembling like a confession. I don't want to lose you. I looked her dead in the eye. You already did. She froze. And I watched the lights go out behind her pupils. Because in that moment, she finally believed me. Not because I raised my voice, but because I didn't. That kind of silence doesn't feel like distance anymore. It feels like the door, clicking shut. The day I left wasn't dramatic. No packed bags by the door. No shouting match in the hallway. No handwritten note on the counter. Just a Saturday. Cloudy. Quiet. She was still asleep. Or pretending to be. I stood by the bedroom door for a few seconds, watching her back. The same position she slept in every night. The same back I used to reach for. Not anymore. I walked to the closet and grabbed the last of my things. Not everything, just what mattered. The watch from my father. My notebooks. The hoodie she used to steal before she stopped wanting my scent on her. I already had my place. Keys in my pocket. Lease signed. Utilities set up. Wi-Fi installed. No trace of her name on any of it. Not because I wanted to erase her. Because she no longer fit into what came next. As I zipped the duffel, I heard movement behind me. She sat up, hair tangled, eyes confused. You going somewhere? She asked, voice groggy. I nodded. Yeah. Where? Home. She blinked, but didn't move. Didn't stop me. She knew. The truth doesn't always slap you across the face. Sometimes it just walks out the door while you're still deciding what tone to use. She stood up slowly, like her body weighed more than usual. You're not really leaving. I looked at her for a long time. Not with hate. Not with pity. Just with finality. I already left. This is just logistics. She covered her mouth like the air had left the room. But no sound came out. I walked to the front door. Keys in hand. Her voice followed me. Small. Controlled. We can fix this. I paused. Hand on the doorknob. Then turned halfway. No. You want to reset the game. I'm not playing anymore. But we were good once. We were convenient once. Until I stopped being convenient. She didn't argue. Because deep down, she knew I was right. She just thought I'd never say it out loud. I opened the door. Stepped into the hallway. Then turned back one last time. She stood barefoot on the cold tile. Arms crossed over the sweatshirt she never returned. Lower lip trembling like she was about to say something that might save us. But there was nothing left to save. And I wasn't hers to reach anymore. So I said it. Quiet. Steady. You didn't lose me all at once. You lost me moment by moment. And now? You don't get to have me in pieces. Then I closed the door. Not with force. With peace. Because the loudest exit is the one where nothing is said. But everything changes. The text started the next morning. Not panicked. Not desperate. Measured. Like someone trying to reverse engineer emotion. Let me know when you're settled. I can drop off a few things you forgot. I just want to talk. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry. Because there was nothing left to say. She tried calling that evening. I watched the screen light up. Let it ring. Watched it go dark again. 3 hours later, another message. I know I messed up. But we were real once. I locked the phone. Put it face down. Sat in my new apartment. No framed photos yet. No rugs. No plants. But I'd never felt more at home. Because the air wasn't heavy anymore. No eggshells under my feet. No affection held hostage. Just silence. But this time, it belonged to me. The next few days followed the same pattern. Missed calls. Half-thought apologies. Voice notes left unopened. I miss your voice. I miss us. I didn't know how far gone you were. But here's the thing about people who weaponize withholding. They never expect to become the one starving. She'd spent years rationing attention, love, intimacy. Now the hunger was hers. And I was full. One night, she emailed me. Not a message. A letter. For paragraphs. Structured. Thought out. Probably drafted 3 times before hitting send. She admitted she pushed me away. Said she confused peace with boredom. Said she punished me for being consistent, mistaking stability for weakness. Said she missed the man who always showed up, even when she didn't deserve it. She ended with, I'm not asking for a second chance. I just need to know if I ever really had you. I read it twice. Then archived it. No reply. Because what she needed wasn't an answer. She needed an echo. And I wasn't leaving one behind. The silence grew heavier. She stopped reaching every day. Started spacing it out. A text on Sunday. A forwarded meme on Wednesday. A thinking of you on Friday night when the house probably felt too empty. Each one more hollow than the last. Not because her words weren't sincere now, but because I didn't live in the version of her that knew how to be sincere. I lived in the version that dismissed, belittled, withheld, until I stopped showing up. That's the version that buried us. Now she was digging through ash hoping to find warmth. But I had already taken the fire with me. I saw her once. 2 weeks after I left. At the grocery store. She didn't see me. She was standing in the wine aisle, staring at a bottle we used to keep stocked for weekends. Holding it like a memory. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically. Energetically. Like someone who finally realized that control isn't power when there's no one left to dominate. I watched her for a moment. Then turned. Walked out. Didn't say a word. Didn't want closure. Because I already had it. And that was the difference between us now. She was still waiting for something to begin again. And I'd already closed the book. It came on a Sunday. Late. After midnight. That time of night when loneliness doesn't whisper, it screams. One last message. No punctuation. No games. Just 6 words. Would you come back if I begged? I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because I was tempted, but because I wasn't. There was a time I would have jumped at that sentence. Would have folded, apologized for things I didn't do, rewound myself into a shape that fit her silence. But now, it didn't even sting. It just felt late. Too late. I didn't respond. Didn't type. Didn't delete. Didn't let it breathe for even a second longer than it deserved. I just powered off the phone and placed it face down on the nightstand of a room she'd never step into. Because some people don't need revenge. They just need clarity. And mine had come slow, cold, and clean. The next morning, the message was still there. Unanswered. Unacknowledged. Like a lifeline tossed into still water, long after the drowning had stopped. That day, I closed the last shared account. Removed the final digital thread that still had her name on it. Changed my emergency contact to my brother. Filed for separation. Quiet. Precise. Surgical. I didn't block her. I didn't need to. Because there's nothing more devastating to someone who used to control you than realizing they no longer even register. No access. No drama. No aftermath. Just absence. She never messaged again. Not out of peace. Out of realization. Somewhere in the silence, she must have understood. You can't beg someone back into the role you broke them in. You can't rehydrate the dry bones of love after you drained it slowly, intentionally. And you definitely can't rebuild something you destroyed just to see if they'd still stay. I heard from a mutual friend months later. She's been quiet lately. Different. I just nodded. Didn't ask how she was doing. Didn't offer updates. Because I didn't need her to hurt. I just needed her to remember. To remember what it felt like to watch someone disappear, not in rage, not in betrayal, but in pure, controlled stillness. She left the door open. She always thought I'd circle back eventually. That I'd get tired. Get nostalgic. Miss the version of her that was nice sometimes. But I didn't. Because when I left, I didn't take a piece of her with me. I took myself back. Every thought. Every instinct. Every quiet, buried part of me she called too sensitive, too much, too soft. And now? Now, I don't even look over my shoulder. Because the most powerful exit isn't made in anger. It's made in clarity. It's made in silence. And it's made with the kind of peace that makes the person you left behind realize you never needed to raise your voice. You just needed to walk away. And mean it.